cups per day. Yeah. Well, I feel like back in the day, their cups were smaller, maybe. But yeah, I don't quite know how you go through 50 to 75. Anyhow, he was an avid gardener too. Just never trust a gardener, huh? No. But he was also an extremely intelligent and well-spoken literary figure. He was very witty. He was a witty satirist. He enjoyed poking fun at just about everything. But all the established institutions he would poke fun at. And here's some of his quotes. He poked fun at the monarchy. He said, "The comfort of the rich depends on an abundant supply of the poor." He poked fun at the military. "It's forbidden to kill. Therefore, all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets." The nature of humans and their lives. He said, "In every province, the chief occupations in order of importance are lovemaking, malicious gossip, and talking nonsense." So, high view of humanity. He also said, "Behind every successful man lies a surprised mother-in-law." And finally, religion. Religion began when the first scoundrel met the first fool. So I think that gives you an idea of what he thought of Christianity. He wrote a groundbreaking little novel. It's only like 100 pages or so, called Candide. And he published it in 1759. He had to kind of publish it underground because he knew the topic would be very controversial. And it was. As soon as it came out, it was banned almost instantly. And they banned publication or selling it. It didn't matter. He sold 30,000 copies in the first year. And when you think about how many households back in Europe in that time actually had the wherewithal or money to go and buy books or even find books, that is a lot of copies. Basically, it's almost every well-to-do household had a copy of Candide sitting somewhere, probably under your mattress or something where nobody would see it. But it was banned almost instantly. And so here's what it was about. It's a naive young man, Candide, sets off on a series of worldwide adventures to be reunited with his true love, known as Lady Cunegonde. And on his journeys, he endures many misfortunes, ranging from comedic to horrific. If you want to read it, go ahead. It ranges from comedic to horrific, I will say that. Some of these misfortunes are by chance, and some are perpetrated by others, including savages, Christians, Muslims, rulers, and leaders. And all the while, he tries to maintain a steadfast optimism as espoused by his mentor, Pangloss. And in the end, though, his life is in ruins. He forced the realization that life is suffering. It does not turn out for good, and there is no discernible reason for any of it. So it's semi-entertaining, but it's also a very depressing novel. But it sold very well. There's a moral to it. Man's institutions as a whole are corrupt, and they bring pain, and they bring evil, and none, including the church, are worth following or obeying, and happiness and purpose cannot be found in any of those things. Here's an excerpt from a letter he wrote to Frederick, King of Prussia. Ours, he's talking about the Christian religion, ours is assuredly the most ridiculous, and the most absurd, the most bloody religion which has ever infected this world. Your Majesty will do the human race an eternal service by extirpating this infamous superstition. I do not say among the rabble, who are not worthy of being enlightened and who are apt for every yoke. I say among honest people, among men who think, among men who wish to think. And my one regret in dying is that I can't aid you in this noble enterprise, the finest and most respectable which the human mind can point out. So in other words, he basically said that the church, religion, is the source of much pain and much problems. He also said he established a key argument for why there is no God in his book, which is pain and evil, they exist, therefore God does not. That is kind of his thesis. And that is the view of the secular humanist. And it had over the last 250 years, there's been this sometimes debate, sometimes more than debate, back and forth between secular humanists and Christian humanists. Is there a God? Is there a loving God? Did Jesus exist? Did Jesus die on the cross? We have many books, of course, written, apologetics arguments, which basically lay out the evidence for God, lay out the evidence for all of these things, and try and convince that, yes, there is evidence beyond, Voltaire's opposition. There's evidence for these things. But that has been a back and forth, and it continues to be a back and forth today between Christians and secular humanists. So having said that, out of secular humanism came a whole bunch of other thinkers. Most of these thinkers, if you may recognize some of the names, they were not Christians. They were actually deists or atheists. But they came up with some very, I guess you could call them very interesting and very worthwhile ideas. David Hume, The Nature of the Human Mind and Atheism, Thomas Hobbes, Rights of the People and the Role of Government, John Locke, Religious Tolerance. We should be tolerant of all religions, but there should be no church over top of government. Jean Rousseau, Immanuel Kant, Adam Smith, founder of capitalism. So this idea that we let people go off and do their own thing, and through their own ingenuity and hard work, they will come up with products or services that other people will buy, and that will be the foundation of an economy. That's Adam Smith. And we don't have, people over top of them telling them what to do. We have this ground-built economy based on supply and demand. And that's what our economies are built on today. And I'll also point out a couple guys on the bottom, Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson. These guys wrote the constitutions for democracies, the founding democracies of the West, the US and the French constitutions. So when you get right down to it, almost all of our ideas, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, like I say, the economic system we live in, our laws, democracy, government, voting, all those sorts of things, these came out of this, the Enlightenment, and in particular, secular humanistic ideas. People don't often realize that. Sometimes we equate this, and we'll go into this a little bit later. Sometimes we think, democracy, it's my right to vote, and the Bible says that, and no, that came from here. So, anyhow, we'll talk more about that a bit later. Not going to dwell too much on this, but these are the tenets of liberal or secular humanism. And the fact is, humanists as a whole have basically come to take over most of our Western culture in terms of thinking. All of these things on the left, basically on the left, are good. Science, we discover truth and reality about existence through science. Industry, we use knowledge to improve and reduce hardships. And education, we train our young people in academic pursuits. Politics, every person is created equal. Every person has equal voice. Economics, freedom of speech and religion. Liberty. Let's go to the bottom two. Liberty. All people should be free to pursue their own course, to live peacefully and happily and prosperously as long as their actions do not harm others. And fulfillment. Humans are intrinsically good, and they can self-discover their own happiness. These are principles of secular humanism. I will say that last one, fulfillment. Humans are intrinsically good. That was a little controversial with the early Enlightenment thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, for instance, back in the 1600s. No, humans are beasts, and they're brutish and they're savages. That's their nature, and you thought that they needed to be corralled by government. But later on, as you get through thinkers and later thinkers, they all became very much of this optimistic view. Humans are intrinsically good. They can self-discover their own happiness. Now you might get this idea of, where certain phrases that we put up at the very beginning, where those come from. So, the United States of America and France are the founding humanist democracies, but every country in the West now has basically a constitution that kind of incorporates all of these ideas. Canada, any European country, most South American countries, they have these founding ideas. And it is part of the humanist approach. And so we come to about I'm going to say 1950. I don't know what the actual date is. But I wanted to contrast Christians versus atheists and secular humanists. And, this is what people believed, and to a certain extent still believe. Christians believed in a dual world or dual reality. We have a physical world, but we have the spiritual and metaphysical world too. We believe that science describes a physical world, while scriptures and theology describe our spiritual world and our spiritual well-being. Science is possible because an ordered creation was created by an ordered creator. We believe, too, that science describes the physical world, but how to live, ethics and morality, and what we should be doing, our purpose in life, all those sorts of things, those are not the realm of science. Those are the realm of religion, and in particular, our Christian faith. Now, there is an exception. I put it in here. I'm not sure why, but I did. But, there were and there still are some Christian fundamentalists who believe that the Bible is a source of truth for absolutely everything. And it's prioritized over science. And I don't think many of us quite believe that anymore. That's the same people who believe, the earth was created in 7 days exactly, and created in whatever it is, 4004 BC, and those sorts of things. There are still people who believe that. But for the most part, we believe science is a source of truth, but it's related to our physical reality, not our spiritual. On the other hand, you've got the atheists and the secular humanists. Most of them believe in a single worldview, as in, no, there's only one reality, and it's here now, kind of like Aristotle. They believe that religion's man-made. It's a man-made creation to explain things that were kind of beyond our knowledge at the time, but science has now put knowledge within reach, so we don't need religion anymore. They've got specific objections to Christianity. There's pain, therefore there cannot be a God. God cannot be scientifically proven. Belief in God has caused more suffering or conflict than any other belief in history. Now, there are arguments against that. And by the way, on number C, belief in God has created, I know that's brought up many, many times, like more people have, died for the Christian faith or in conflicts due to Christianity than any other cause in the world. And I will say that's absolutely, completely false, so don't ever fall for that. I mean, you just have to look in recent history, like Stalin, 20 to 30 million. He killed 20 to 30 million people. Pol Pot, another atheist, wiped out whatever it is, 6 million Cambodians. Going back further, in China, there were dynasties who killed almost 100 million people of their own people over the course of many, many years, but dynasties trying to take over each other. So, and none of those were religious conflicts, so don't ever fall for that. Anyhow, that's my little commercial. Also, though, they believe that in so much in the promise of science and logic that they think will not only unify our knowledge and unify our understanding of everything, but it can also provide a universal moral ethic for the world. As in, we can, using science, figure out exactly what our rules for living should be. And there have been attempts like act or rule utilitarianism or democratic social contract or deontology. These have all been attempts within the secular humanist world to develop their own set of ethics. Needless to say, hasn't been entirely successful, but that's the topic for the next session. And with that, I think that's our time for today. Next session, we'll talk more about secular humanism and some of the issues that have gone on with that. It is the prevalent philosophy of today. But we'll also talk about the more recent development, which is not secular humanism at all, and what problems have occurred as a result of that too. But for now, I think we're good. Thank you. We have a couple minutes if you have any questions. Anybody have any thoughts or questions that they want to bring up or about anything? No? Oh, good. Means it was all perfectly clear. That's, yeah. You guys are a lot smarter than you look. Of course, I had to throw that in. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Yeah.